This is Rydo, and we're back to another stream of MTG Arena. Today is Friday, December the 13th, and already I have bad luck because it seems like, subscriptions on my own YouTube channel are not updating enough to show that I'm live. So who knows if anybody was going to watch this. On a Friday, odds were low anyways. Let's see. Let's reroll blue over green versus black over green, so I can always go back to playing my standard black deck. Um, I don't think didn't play anything yesterday, but a lot has happened. Certainly, the Game Awards has happened. We'll talk about that. Uh, they've updated the interface here. We have now a friends list, so now people can, through the description below, friend me, and I'm willing to accept friends accept all friends, and potentially play people. The question will start to boil down to uh, what kind of games friends games are, and whether they count towards daily victories. There is still a balance issue here where these daily victories, trying to get 15 of those and playing a friend's games doesn't make sense. So there is still a high chance that I would play like one person, one game per day, and that's about it. So I don't want to overpromise there because there's just so much that has to be done around this. The daily quests are easy. You can get those done in 3 or 4 games. But to get even to the 10th point, which is really where you need to do, just as long as you have the mastery thing unlocked, it's a lot of work. It's just straightly a lot of work. They've also changed the icon here. Instead of being a solid circle into a broken up circle. I'm sure that's easier to see for some people who are red deficient or orange deficient in color. And let's see, there's new exquisite sleeves. What is this? Available in the store. Pair it with new avatars. So they're selling sleeves and avatars. They're just adding more and more characters. And I could have sworn I saw somebody play with this avatar before it was released. So here's a web link to the historic suspended list, which is I haven't figured out exactly what it is, but I assume what it is it's a temporary, or at least allegedly temporary, banned list. I think it's also kind of funny here. You have the idealized thought of what a Magic the Gathering lady would look like. I have yet to see anyone that looks like that plays Magic online even. But also I guess this is Jaina, or at least it's highly inspired by Jaina. And it may be coming true that we do get a large amount of new players into Magic the Gathering, because one of the things announced at the Game Awards is an MMO. So basically what they're doing, and Magic is right to do this, it makes perfect sense. They should have frankly been working on this for the past 5 to 10 years. They're basically trying to replace World of Warcraft, which makes sense. You also are competing against things like Elder Scrolls Online and EverQuest and any other, even Black Desert Online, any other MMO in a fantasy realm. But Magic has the history to do something like that, and they're swooping in right at the perfect time, because if they can take the fan base of people who are playing Hearthstone, which is a subsection of the fan base who were playing World of Warcraft, then, or at least a slightly affiliated section of people who are fans of World of Warcraft, then their next step would be to take World of Warcraft. And Magic could certainly spin this off in different directions with their dimensions. They could easily make a real-time strategy game in a sci-fi environment and have StarCraft. They could easily have a Goblin's Realm and have Warcraft instead of World of Warcraft game, they could easily spin off their character base and have, well, the most difficult one would be Diablo, and that wouldn't even be that hard either. You just set these in different universes and have them play, and slowly, like, eat the lunch of Activision Blizzard. The Magic with Hasbro's backing could probably pull some of that off, but they have to be slow and careful. Next we have here new cards and old from Theros Beyond Death packs early. So this is the new expansion, I guess, Theros Beyond Death. What I want to point out about this after party link here, Pre-Con Clash, well, I don't even know if this is the same as this is actually, is what is this reflection here? This animation does not make any sense. I don't know if it's supposed to indicate a rippled reflection. Did they use some kind of computer and did not use artistic styles? Is this supposed to be a monster here? I could hardly assume that this bump here and this bump here is supposed to be the beginnings of cleavage, and if that is, I have no idea what this is. Yeah, so I assume what this is trying to do is this is some kind of CG reflection, but the animation there is just terrible. Like, it should either be pitch blackness, and see, when they clip it you don't see this, but or it should be slightly see-through. But yeah, this I cannot tell what this is supposed to be. I wonder if perhaps it was supposed to be that you saw the reflection of this character in the face of this character, and is this character supposed to be similar or the same character to this? Here you can also purchase both Theros. If you purchase both Theros Beyond Death pre-orders and unlock the Kura's pet, well, you can. And there's nothing. So if you purchase this and this, you get this for free. Alright, and see, we can see on the store we've got several things here. So you have a pre-order Azlok Pack Battle, which is $50. The $10 10 boosters across the current standard and 1,000 gems for $10. Like, I probably should get that. If you buy both, you get this pet. So you have to buy this and this. So you can see how Magic, even in Arena form, is super expensive here. They want you to spend $100. This one seems like it comes with things that I don't know if you really would want to purchase. Like, this is crazy because this looks like this might be a new mastery for $50. And I'm not willing to spend $50. No way. Not in a million years would I spend $50 just on Magic. Here we have a 600 gem card style, which also is not a great deal. But they certainly are. They certainly are arranging things in a way, and you can see now they've got a most popular and great deal icons here. They're just getting greedier and greedier as it goes. Packs wise, we're still at Throne of Eldraine, so you can't do anything there. I kind of like the hover, but this bundle doesn't fully make sense as far as what you're getting, and I don't want to click on it on fear that it brings up a new a screen. I swore I saw this character played. I must have run into somebody. Also, it seems like some of the avatars are missing now. Like, did we lose some options? I don't know. And we can buy these card sleeves for gold. Is it worth it to spend gold on card sleeves? No. Is it is it now the fact that all of these styles are on sale because they're about to disappear? Is that worth it? No. Is it worth 20,000 to get this dog that would make that sound the whole time? No. Like, almost certainly, I would say we are gonna get this pet and never get another pet in the first place. An Eldraine Mastery. I mean, we only have a few more levels, but then it does feel like this is gonna go away. And I don't know if I'm ever gonna buy another one of these mastery things. Completed one. So there was some other mastery that was before this that I missed. Alright, so let's see, where does this go? This is the game afterwards party. So we get to play, it seems for free. We get to, let's see, pick one or two decks. One victory gets us one pack, 2 victories gets us 3 packs, 3 victories gets us 3 packs. Alright, yeah. And with this image larger, I'm still having a real hard time trying to figure out what this is supposed to be as far as a reflection. That's just not animated well. Alright, so select a pack. So do I want to play blue, black, or white? Let's play white. Well, actually, just because of our daily quest, let's play blue, black. Do we lock it in? Doesn't seem like we do. So for our usual upkeep, I spent most of the day setting up RetroPie and Emulation Station to run on the GPI case. I've gotten as much as I think I can get done, getting rid of text pop-up and just little annoyances and settings. Running on a Raspberry Pi Zero W, you have a limited number of games you could run. You're not going to run Nintendo 64, you're not going to play any arcade games really with 6 buttons, just because the GPI case, it really only has 4 face buttons, and it has a left and right trigger, but they're just in the wrong position for my huge adult hands. So that's just not going to happen. You would almost certainly need a Bluetooth controller if you were going to try and play any of those games that required more controlling buttons than, say, a Super NES has. That's just really where it's going to go. Even a 6-button Sega Genesis controller is not something that would be super easy to reprogram the extra buttons to, because if you're having to use left triggers when you're not used to using left triggers, that's a problem. It seems to me like there is some settings. I've kind of limited it down to 2 settings, and I'll try and see if I can change those settings to get Emulation Station to make sound without causing a huge amount of noise and hiss, but it seems to me like the trade-off is there's something about the way Emulation Station plays navigation sounds, which are just small insignificant sounds, that causes it to mess up compared to the Libretto RetroArch cores that Emulation Station launches into, which play the audio just fine and don't cause any trouble at all. The other thing I worked on is the device I'm trying to build. I think I've got the right setting to read the right input to get the battery. Unfortunately, because it is a device that is using an e-paper display, it's not like the battery is dying any particularly fast, which is A, great, and B, a bit of a problem when you're trying to test the battery itself. I'm just going to keep this since I have no idea what what my deck is. So, an island or swamp. Well, I do control an island or swamp, so why wouldn't I play that? Wow, this is actually good. Look at this card. It is a dual color land, not a basic land, but it doesn't come in with any kind of considerations. So it just goes into full mode regardless when you want it to. So I can just play this, for instance, and then put that on the field. That's great. Those are, I guess, lands to go for in the next expansion. So yeah, I've got the device where it, I think, is reading the battery. It's reading some number. The number it's getting is not accurate in any way. It seems to be way too high. There's a point there where let's see, where you are doubling the power, the number. The number was supposed to be voltage divided, so you're supposed to double it to get the actual voltage. You're supposed to be getting voltage. The voltage I'm getting is approaching 4.7, which is the maximum shutoff protection circuit in the battery, not what the operating amount should be. Like, it is way over the amount it should be reading, which should be closer to 3.3 volts, and it dies, I believe it's somewhere around 2.4 volts. So if you're not supposed to double it, or if it's just reading the wrong thing, it's in a weird position. So the midnight thing, that was a cool card. I remember that. Is this a new card too? No, not. I don't think so. So this, I think, is the new symbol. Wish you could compare symbols. This, I believe, is one of the old symbols. But then what is this symbol? Yep. Alright, are we gonna defend? Create a treasure token. Interesting. I don't know if I really want a treasure token. Let's do no blocks and then attack with both of these guys. And then we'll see what he wants to do with that. So yeah, I really haven't done any high level code yet. I'm still looking at the Bluetooth. I need to set up the settings to just handle data better. I rotated the screen. Let's see. Well, this would be -1, -1. So that'd be one way to kill something. So we could play like this here. And let's see. That enchants the creature. Okay. Let's see how that resolves. That in no way resolved the way he wanted it to. And there we go. Game over. But the thing you'd want to do here, more than anything, is you would want to... Can we open these right now, or do we have to wait? you want to look at this deck. So let's double click it and see if we can see it. Yes. So we have Mox Sapphire, Mox Jet. Yeah, Black Lotus is coming back. Wow. Sacrifice Black Lotus, add 3 mana for 0 mana cost. Black Lotus was always way overpowered, and that's why it is the most famous, hugely expensive card. And they're just bringing him back, which does kind of give more evidence that they have a different mentality now as far as cards that that they will allow. And it is, to say something's cool about the fact that Black Lotus is coming back after decades of being overpowered and banned. It's taken them a really, really long time to have any kind of power creep in their build, to the point where it is still at least somewhat reasonable to play alpha cards. There's not a ton of, well, I don't know how you say that, really. Like, there are a ton of cards certainly that aren't playable and weren't playable even the day one that they came out, but there's still a ton of cards that are playable. So yeah, a lot of things here. I'd say about a third of these cards seem to be new cards, where the old cards are also mixed together. So a lot of Throne of Eldraine cards in particular. Whereas I was playing this deck, and no, I wasn't playing this deck. Let's see. Is this Shelter character? She's like in a bikini, but at the angle it looks like she's not wearing any pants. That'll be the interesting point, is when do we see the first publicly known mod for Magic Arena that just changes all the art into nude filtered versions. I mean, you've got it, certainly. You could easily take a card like this and just remove the shirt if you wanted to. Like they did for Hearthstone. Of course, I couldn't stream if I personally did that, but if you're just playing a game, particularly in Magic's case, like, you're going to be playing Magic the Gathering so long. If you're just a I like casual nudity in my day-to-day basis type person, then you spending the long amount of time you would spend here. I guess this isn't the same character, they're just similar looking characters. Let's just again keep this. This is a new style. I wonder what this is called. As this saga is, as the saga enters, and after you draw step, add a lore counter, sacrifice after 3. So sagas are almost like planeswalkers. So 1 lore counter creates a 2/2 white knight creature, 2 also creates a 2/2 white knight creature, 3 knights you control get 2+2+1. Alright. This is interesting. So, here we go. To start with, you play this as an artifact, Black Lotus. Then we play this and sacrifice the Black Lotus, play a saga. That's a heck of an animation, certainly. Let's see. What does this cost? Tap the colorless mana, 6 6 mana, draw a card, and activate the ability only if you have the city's blessing. Why would I? What gives me the city's blessing? Let's see. First Street. This would be a non-land permanent, so I shouldn't play that. Alright. So one of those didn't have summoning sickness, the other did. So these don't have like haste. But this is a knight, so this should activate and buff up my 3 characters quite nicely. Why do I not have enough? Because that's a colorless. Interesting. And he's got nothing for me to exile, so I'm hardly getting a challenge here. I mean, seriously. Is this the world of Magic? This is concerning, certainly, that there are just a bunch of people on Magic Arena that just don't know what they're doing. Now, I totally like that I may just play more games of this than I need to. 3 is too few. Because this will just be easy victories. I would have much preferred for them to have announced a release date for a mobile version of Magic Arena and push Magic Arena. It does kind of feel like they might very quickly be moving in a direction that... So here you have Soul Ring that just gives you 2 colors. Yeah, there's a danger that they might immediately abandon Magic Arena if the Magic the Gathering MMO succeeds, and that kind of flippantness is not something we would want to see. Alright, so that's going to create this. We don't want to play this. We can do that one. We can do that one. Alright, so this is the right one to do for me. Like, not a lot of synergy in these cards yet, but this is going to be mostly an effort of just getting more cards on the field. I'm dangerously close to being able to play this. This says white creatures. I can either play this now, or I can get +1/+1 until the end of the turn later. So I'm just gonna do this. And I guess maybe this isn't a I guess that's just an enchantment, which is like an artifact, not a... What are the others called? Enchantment aura. Enchant creatures. They are enchantments. Alright. We've got a new background here, which is fine. But notice the theme here doesn't really seem like it's the fairy tale theme. It doesn't seem like it would really connect there. Which I'm fine with that. I'm fine if every theme is completely, or at least heavily separate, and they get rid of their kind of main storyline that they were pushing. There's a certain way of storytelling there that I think I prefer, where you have a setup, first episode of something like Sliders, and then that's my this is work my devotion to white. Is your devotion to white the number of cards you have? Each white mana costs each white mana cost you control towards your counts towards your devotion to white. White mana cards, right? That's what it says. No, each white mana of mana costs of permanents you control. So if these didn't cost white mana, but this did, 1 white mana, 2 white mana, and 2 there. So that's 5, 6. So he should have a 6 upgrade there. So if I lose some people, that's gonna kind of suck. So yeah, let's I guess start covering the news, because I do want to kind of not stream for 3 times today, but particularly since we started a little late. Alright, so we lost that. What's this one doing? Exiling cards? Yeah, I probably played out of order. Yeah, I probably shouldn't ever change the order I want to attack things, because the game probably knows the right order. Yeah, Magic has a link here with a list of all the new cards for the Theros Beyond Death preview season, which we're not into the season, but we are in the preview season. Seems like there's a lot of hype they go through. Right. What does this do? And there's the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target of a non-land permanent. There we go. Go ahead and destroy that. And place that. And go ahead and attack with that, I guess, because I think we're fine. Why did it make a crystal golem for that guy? Let's see. Oh, because I destroyed his thing, I gave him the golem. I see. Well, that kind of sucks, but I don't think that's going to be a big deal. Can I not play this? Apparently not. Let's see. So I don't have a ton of news, but there is a lot of stuff, certainly. So yeah, I think the order blockers here are the right move. So you want to do that and then that. Because had you gone the other direction, that would have been a... Let's see. I could enchant creatures. But I don't think that there's a need to do that. So yeah, I started a little late today, waking up later and later. Seems to always be the issue, particularly when I'm planning on waking up early tomorrow for some other non-YouTube related reason. Let's see, can I not block? No, because he's flying. See, he's just tossing all these cards. But it kind of doesn't matter. Like, his protection of his health is extremely low, and he's gonna have a hard time quagmiring me forever. Particularly when I can just play this and then target this with this, and then buff this up to a 4/7 and buff this up to a 5/5, so his 2 defenses probably aren't going to work for the next couple of turns. And any new card I draw that synergizes and helps will help. Yep. This probably is either the end of or the beginning of a third week in which I haven't done any pre-recording footage, and I need to get back to that. Certainly. And tomorrow, I think, is probably my cutoff date. I really don't have any more reason to work on the RetroPie directly in any really rushed way. And then I've got it basically working. It is just now a matter of adjusting the ROMs I want on it. And seeing what works and what doesn't. And that is such a long-term project. Counter target spell. Well, that sucks. Instant flash. This is just taking forever to play because he knows he's lost. So let's just all attack here and see what happens. Let's see. Protection from black. +1/+2. Alright. Alright, so this one's gonna do 4 damage. So let's see. Target creature gains protection from any color. Your stance, so black. And then we'll scry that, and we've got little card backs. Just a cool card backs. Again, something that really can only happen. So because I gave it protection from black, it didn't take any damage from the second guy. And so now he's playing this. Let's look at this guy. First turn, each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. Second turn, each opponent discards a card. Third turn, put a target creature or planeswalker from the graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. The Eldest Reborn. That is not bad. So that sucks. You may have me here. It seems like in a later game you do run into this danger of just deck destruction and hand destruction if in just defeating people. The main problem I'm having right now with the RetroPie, by the way, is I'm trying to install a software that is just not installing, called Image Magic, to create loading images by default. And so that means you have to use the what is called CMake software to build it from source code, because that's pretty much how this works. Let's see, let's just do no attacks, because if we do attack, we leave ourselves up open, and he's not going to let that happen. Well, actually, vigilance. If I'd paid attention and seen that I had vigilance now, I should have attacked. But whatever. So, like, using CMake in Linux is always a hassle. It's better than some of the other options I've seen, slightly, and by far more popular and common, at least as far as Debian Linux is concerned, or Debian flavored Linux is. What is this ability? Whenever this equipped creature attacks, create a so I could equip this again. So next, and we'll just start attacking. Yeah, I should have been attacking the time before. So yeah, just by default, if you have the code, and it will actually work simply, and that is the big if, all you need to do is download the files into a folder and then type /configure, hit enter. That should take forever. And then, do I want to do this, or do I want to do this? See, do I want to re-equip? Can I re-equip? And then after you type /configure, then you type in the word make, and then you type in the word make space install. In theory, that would work. Apparently you can't quickly and easily unequip, so I probably lost here. Like, I don't even need the auto pass. There's, I believe, absolutely nothing I could do. This seems like this will probably be a pretty easy common card to play, though. Just like, if you're playing an all-white deck, it would totally make sense to play that if you have nothing better. A simplistic buff for all your characters. Alright, let's stop talking about nerdy stuff here. We have a game on Steam called GeoCells Quad Cells, which looks to me like it is a Minesweeper type game, as best as I can tell, with just some different rules and appearance. $7.99, English only, too expensive. If this was a $2.99 game that went on sale a lot, I would consider it, but yeah, you're asking way too much there for that game. Next game is tag sexual content, so let's just double check that it's YouTube family friendly or close enough to it. Alright, seems like we have that. So here we have a game on Steam called Pretty Angel. It seems like it is a very simplistic slide puzzle game with some anime characters. And it seems like it's probably the same artist too. See, it's just a tile-based puzzle. 69 cents discounted, bunch of languages. It says it has full audio support. There's a $5 bundle for several of these. What I would point out here is that here we have a anime girl in a school outfit, and this seemed to have no problem getting on the Steam. If anything, it seems either another batch of these have been allowed, or I have no idea what this is going to do. Create a 1/1 white vampire token creature. When you attack with 3 or more of these creatures, transform Legion's Landing. So it transforms into what is this? A legendary land. Interesting. Well, that's cool. So yeah, it seems like maybe Steam has shifted its focus. Almost certainly Valve and Steam have shifted their focus too, because now it's no longer about just keeping the storefront the way you want it to be. It's also about, let's see, it is also about a very true instance of supporting Half-Life Alexa, and or Alex, yeah, it's Alex, and making at least one more game. They've been kind of working their way into saying they had 3 games that they were going to release, but let's be honest, the previous couple of things that they've released as games aren't like full AAA games of any real interest. So yeah, I'm not. I was unimpressed by their other releases, and in an arguable fashion, it also might very well be an incident here that they're kind of abandoning or wrapping up support for Counter-Strike Global Offensive to move on. They wanted Artifact to succeed, certainly. That's the main one that I had to remind myself even existed. Let's see. Well, before we still have one more victory to do, so let's do that. And maybe the 3rd tier players here actually know how to play, so that's why the quick 2 victories were so off-putting. But yeah, I'm sure Valve wanted Artifact to succeed greatly. I feel like they probably feel like they need to get developing a couple more games to have some success. The fact that they were going to release so many different games at the same time does just scream like they had no confidence in any of them, which, yeah, okay. But it would have been nice if Artifact had succeeded and was more of a traditional card game. I would have been differently happy in a lot of ways with playing Artifact instead of Magic, because then you don't have that history and you don't have that greediness in it. Artifact in particular was selling itself as being a particularly ungreedy experience. Alright, so we can play this for 0 and let's see. Fabled Land Passage. I finally realized how Fabled Passage works. Like, so you want to play this when you have 4 or more lands. So this might be a good card to put in like my green deck, where there's just a ton of land that you need and a ton of land you play. Next we have a game on Steam here called Backspace Boken, which Boken I believe is Japanese for like a staff sword. Seems to be some cheap low effort typing game. That's what it's typed as a dungeon crawler. It's calling itself a JRPG. I bet this is a Chinese game if I was to guess. $13.49, again way too expensive, and English only, so maybe not even a Chinese game, maybe just a low effort dumb idea by a Western person. Somebody's mailed me, so I bet I have a friend request on Steam, so I should accept that. Let's see. We can play this. And we might as well play this. And this is on the field right now. So if I just wait a turn or something, I want to use this the right way. Next we have a game tag nudity. So let me double check. Well, here we have another low effort game on Steam. Spot the Difference says 2020, and then a bunch of Asian letters. It seems like this is probably, if I was to guess, stolen art images. Like, seems like a combination of people, real life people, and such. Although here you have an anime girl in the thumbnail, and that's not what the screenshots are showing. 59 cents discounted, bunch of languages supported, 50 different levels, so yeah, another one of these low effort games. Still really no movement or desire to curate any of that or censor any of that, depending on what point you want to go or what discussion you're having. The Epic Games Store had some trouble, certainly. Good news and bad news. We have The Wolf Among Us 2, a Telltale series being announced, which, I mean, I assume this is from Starduck, that's just using the phrase a Telltale series at this point. It's been a really, really long time. Ad hoc. Seems to be the only logo there I didn't recognize. Alright, so will this work? Are you sure? It says no. It says, am I sure? So let's wait one more turn. So yeah, it's been a really, really long time since The Wolf Among Us 1, and I kind of assume it's just going to be a completely separate story in Wolf Among Us 2, and not have any real connection to the continuing kind of story or what was promised before. The Control free expedition update is available for download at the Epic Games Store, so if I wanted to go and play more Control, I could play more Control. What's funny is, kind of at this point, you're in a funny position because of the fact that almost certainly all of the Game of the Year arguments have been had or are being had right now, so there really isn't enough time to motivate people who would be giving Game of the Year awards to play the Expedition DLC and be reminded that they liked Control. So it's gonna really come down to people either loving Control for their memories of it or having forgotten about Control at this point, which I'd say it's probably 50-50 on that. Alright. Explores. Reveal top card in the library, put that card in your hand if it's the land, otherwise put a 1/1 counter on this creature, then put the card back into your graveyard. So we have a new key phrase, I believe. Put it in the graveyard. Let's see. How does this work? Put it back or put it in your graveyard. Okay, so that was my choice. But I would have gotten a 1/1 either way. Let's go ahead and attack. The other thing Epic Games Store had 14 hours ago, we're investigating on reports that The Escapist is not launching for some players, which is a free game. The Wolf Among Us 1 is free also for a limited time. So yeah, still not really suggesting people start buying games on the Epic Games Store, but they are slowly growing. They are slowly growing their game base in their library to a point where it would at the very least make some small sense that would be the possibility. So the big news here we have from OpenCritic: everything announced at the Game Awards 2019, Next Gen Xbox, Hellblade 2, and more. So Marvel Ultimate Alliance is getting... Why'd it do that? It is getting 4 new heroes this month. Okay, if you're still playing that. An indie game called Salem Seeks Refugee Empathy. Is this my turn? Yeah. Let's see. Let's just go ahead and pass. Yeah. Enchant creature, control target enchanted creature with double strike. Interesting. So here we have this Salam game that seems like it's mostly just a person talking more than anything, and then it looks like it is kind of just an infinite runner. So this was probably a games for change thing more than anything. I can't really blame a African developer from Africa, which I assume he is, making just an infinite runner though, because they've got to start somewhere, and there's certainly a lot worse games you could have made, and a lot worse games that have been made from poor, underdeveloped countries as far as game development is concerned. Alright, so now let's do this. Alright. Loses all of its abilities. He just killed his own character to avoid me getting it. Interesting. Interesting move. There's a game called Maneater, which looks like a Jaws game. I believe this had already been announced. And sure, like, if this actually works and this is actually interesting to play, I'd be willing to check it out. Final Fantasy VII had another trailer. Control's Expedition Mode is free and is out now. Sons of the Forest tells a new story in the Forest horror franchise. I don't know if I ever really wanted to play the Forest, though. So Xbox debuts its next-gen consoles, Xbox Series X, or as people will soon recognize, it's Xbox Sex. S-E-X is how that's going to... You're just going to remove the R-I-E-S in there. They clearly are trolling. If there was ever question, is Microsoft just trolling with their names, like that they have been for a while now. The Xbox 360, plus by calling it the Series X, it makes it sound like it's the 10th generation, which then kind of completely blows out of the water the it completely blows out of the water the PlayStation 5, because it's doubling the number, which probably was pretty predictable that they were going to do something like that. The thing to mention here on the trailer that I've been skipping is what it looks like. It is just this very tall, very thin cube, and I'd have to think about it, like, and look at the size. It seems like it's the height of 2 and maybe an 1/8 of controllers by comparison, which might be the right height for a tall light novel that you would get in Japan. Why would that be important? Because one of the main complaints about the Xbox 360 and the original Xbox and all of them is that they were too big and they took up too much space in Japan, and if they're going to push to sell it in Japan, being taller might work better on the shelves, and you'd be surprised how big of a deal that actually seems to be. The other thing to say about that shape, though, is it seems like it's probably the perfect size to fit in a standard ATX power supply at the bottom, and then on the sides potentially having a custom board that is a mini or micro ATX motherboard. And I wouldn't be surprised if that is kind of the way it is built. I'd love to see a teardown that once they get in the hands of people. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a board on one side and a board on the other side, and then there's a fan that is just blowing air up the middle, trying to cool it as much as possible, as it seems like that's the only vent. And it also seems like the top is slanted a little bit, so there might be a speaker and maybe even a microphone, come to think of it, inside of that. That very well might be the case, that they are putting something that is like an Alexa into the device, or they're putting an up-firing center speaker or subwoofer type experience to make more audio that come from that. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, Black Lotus here is not going to inherently fix things for me. Like, I'm still gonna lose. Let's see. Loses all abilities until the end of the turn and taps. Let's see. So if he played a spell, I could counter it. And then I could scry, and that's about all I can do. Because they showed an image with a regular layout of controllers, it doesn't seem like we're getting any new controllers. Project Scarlet is a interesting code name now that we know the new game is called Project Xbox Sex, and I am just going to call it that for its entire life. The Scarlet letter being very related to sex, as it were. Seriously, not getting anywhere. I think I like the white deck better than I like the black deck. We'll play one more game and then we'll have to wrap up. Other things, we have Suna's Sacrifice, which I just bought. Hellblade Suna's Sacrifice 1. And they just announced the sequel, which is great, so I can now, kind of at my leisure, play that game and see if I can convince more people to maybe support me by gifting me 2 when it comes out. It's in early development for the Xbox Series X. There is a slight question there. I kind of would have figured, without actually knowing the story, I kind of would have figured that you would have ended that story in such a way that they really couldn't have made a sequel. But apparently there's some way to do that. There's a game called Godfall coming to the PS4 and Epic Games Store next year, so probably meaning that it will be such an exclusive. These images and videos are pretty small. They're calling it a looter slasher. Could be something, could be nothing in a lot of ways. Bravely Default 2 is set for 2020 as a Nintendo game. Warframe's Imperium update is now available. See, here's a big one. Magic the Gathering goes beyond death. In There's Beyond Death. And so this is just a trailer showing some animations there. Come over here and play. Player Unknown reveals a new IP called Prologue, which that name is cryptic, and it looks like the trailer is pretty cryptic, other than it looks like it's almost certainly not a Battlegrounds game, which I think in all fairness there is an argument to be said that that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds never really finished development of that game, so I wouldn't really I really wouldn't want to play a new PlayerUnknown game, as Battlegrounds was kind of by now clearly defeated by Fortnite. Here we have a League of Legends single-player game called Ruined King. I didn't see that one. I was definitely not paying any attention to the Game Awards. In general, I'll say the Game Awards is still full of like tons of ads and not a super interesting award show, as none of them really are. Sword of Fire and Ice. This is just a Game of Thrones reference. Let's go and play that. Double Strike. Flying, Vigilance, and Lifelink. Does this guy have Double Strike? So here, we do this. We put that on that. We put that on that, and we could potentially win in like one turn. There's a game here called Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance, which I feel like there's been a Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance game, unless that's Heroes of Might and Magic Dark Alliance. Probably inspired by The Witcher from the looks of it, and sorry that these videos are just so small. I don't know what's going on with the embeds that they did here. Ori and the Will of Wisps debuts new gameplay. Co-creator of Prey and Dishonored revealed a game called Weird West, which seems like it's like a top-down weird sci-fi. They're calling it an action RPG experience. Might be kind of like a Western version of Fallout 1 or 2. Sacrifice of the creature. Darn it. Alright. Well, we'll do this. And then we'll put this on the field. And then we'll attack for 8. Unfortunately, I don't have another creature to sacrifice. Just a long list of descriptors here. Doesn't matter. He got rid of them for me. Here is Magic the Gathering as an MMO in Magic Legends, which all these are just like teaser trailer things, and in a lot of ways this is like mostly stationary images being slightly animated. Arguably, I'd say the orcs versus human separation in World of Warcraft, you mostly have those two alliances, and I don't think that they ever got much further than that at any point. So, starting with potentially 5 different color allegiances, which I assume is how this would work. Let's see. Costs 1 less for each knight you control. Starting with 5 different color classes does put you in a better position, I think, for an MMO, and does open up some doorways for doing something different. But there's a lot of caveats and a lot of ways to drop the ball, certainly. It's not like Wizards of the Coast has done very good. This is coming from the Neverwinter team, I just noticed, so maybe Neverwinter will program it very well and it will be a great success. But almost, we just saw an example where Wizards of the Coast Hasbro kind of abandoned their partners in developing Magic Duels and moved on to making Magic Arena in-house. So even if Neverwinter does a very good job running this MMO, at some point you kind of think that Magic Legends might get abandoned for a different MMO, or there might be some other system whatsoever. Let's see. Create X4 for White Angels. I could create 2. I don't know what cycling means though. There's a new key phrase here. You must pay a cycle cost to discard, and draw a card. So I'm gonna go 1, 2 here. Does that not work? One. I can only do 1. Oh, because it's double the cost. It's also fair, I think, to mention that I'm not sure how big of a deal MMOs are anymore, even in Asia and outside of the United States. They're really not a big deal in America for sure, but there's certainly problems to be said with just doing a MMO in 2020, like, and I have to use 2020 now because we know this isn't going to launch in 2019. Let's see. Ghost of Tsushima still without a firm launch date. Gears Tactics is coming in April for PC and now Xbox 2. TOO, as in also. A game called Naraka Blade Point brings Sekiro vibes to China. It's a multiplayer melee game if you played Sekiro. Naraka. It's just a ton of IGN videos. Alright, I didn't really play into Sekiro, so there's a weird, like, it's bringing vibes to a game I haven't played, so. Well, I played poorly there. Legendary spells. I don't think I have any legendary spells, though. Let's see. Whenever you cast a legendary spell, create a 2/2 white knight creature with vigilance. Tap, create creatures with creature tokens with vigilance. Maybe I can tap this next turn and cast this own spell a second time. Is that casting when you tap something? There's a game called 9 to 5, a new 3 versus 3 tactical shooter. Again, a game very possibly not going to catch anybody's attention. Beat Saber is getting Green Day songs and more. Amazon Game Studios MMO New World is coming in May, and so it'll be interesting to see if this game New World, how it lines up to, say, the Magic the Gathering MMO. I wouldn't be surprised if New World somehow succeeded in the Magic the Gathering game didn't. Alright, so we tap that, and let's see. Will this create 2 or will this create 1? I'll only create 1. Protection from blue. If I could just get this on this guy, I could defend. Yeah. There's a game called Convergence, or Convergence, is a League of Legends second single player story. So they're making like 2 single player stories. I feel like it's gonna be really weird though. Man, I'm just losing like crazy. Finally.
The tragedy of my death has only strengthened my resolve.
Up to 2 creatures get +2/+1. Let's do that.
Together we can exact justice.
If you control 10 or more permanents, you get a city's blessing for the rest of the game. Nice. What does the city's blessing do, however? I guess I have this city's blessing, so now I can draw a card and activate this ability, which is great. And then apparently I can play this again, but I think I'd prefer to do this. Exile 4 other cards. Well, let's get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. That didn't help much. And get rid of that.
Death itself cannot halt my quest for justice.
And what do I want to do?
I am proud of my comrades.
And so we'll just do no attacks this turn. And I think next turn we can probably beat these guys pretty easily. If I can just get enough. Let's see. So it has this escape ability. Surgeon Simulator 2 is coming in 2020. The Wolf of Us 2 revived by a new Telltale Games people. So it seems like this is just a new Telltale Games, but it's not all the old employees, certainly. Elder Scrolls Online is heading to Skyrim next year. Too little, too late. There's a Fast and Furious game called Crossroads coming in 2020, and Sekiro Shadows Die Twice wins Games of the Year. This isn't really covering who won what. I'm not sure it really matters who won what, though. Let's see. I can't draw a card. Alright, so do I want... Let's just
Courage
go
will bloom
here.
in all who seek justice.
And let's wait till next turn. I think I've just got him. This article didn't really talk about who won the awards. Some interesting appearances. Linus Tech Tips showing up at the Game Awards. Kojima being the very first person announced to even be there. It's like the first words out of Jeff Keighley's mouth as soon as the show started. It seemed was to mention, "Hey, Kojima's here," to just rub in the fact that he wasn't allowed to come in the previous year. The old president of Nintendo of America, it was in the audience, although he really didn't have, frankly, any business being there, because let's be honest, there's just kind of no reason for him, because he just doesn't work in the industry anymore, for better or worse. Right. So what do we want to do? 2, 1, 2, 1. These have summoning sickness, so we wouldn't want to do that. 2, 2. Do this and do this.
I will do my best to support you.
Oh, and so I can just play this again. And so that card just turned into Adonio the First Fort. Let's see. Gamatsu has an article here. A third-person fantasy looter slasher Godfall was announced. We'll probably get into more details on all of these games. I wonder if these are supposed to be like ancient Egyptian gods or something that you're playing as, or if this is something kind of like Too Human, where it's set in a cyberpunk version of a Viking story, although I don't think it's a Viking story in this case. I think it would probably be more Egyptian, Middle Eastern gods. Alright, well, that was an hour and 30 minutes to do the after party. And we also have this Brawler Days, which would be 10,000 gold to get this one card. I don't even know what logo this is. So it's like 10,000 gold for one legendary card, which might be worth it. We can just go ahead and open these. Network error. These packs are from an upcoming set. You'll be able to open them once it's released. So the answer to that is no. They're just gonna sit there. Thanks, game. So would I want to spend 10,000, or do I want to open 50 packs when the new expansion happens? Because I think that's kind of where I would prefer this to go, is that I'd rather just have enough gold to have the next expansion happen, and maybe we'll get lucky and the next expansion will come out on January 1st or something, and then we'll know whether or not this is a good deal or not. Or people could let me know in the comments, certainly, if they think that's a good deal. There's no real reason to do any of that. Let's see. It does seem like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 12, 16, 17 avatars, and then let's go here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So there's like 3 avatars that are missing here. So I don't know if those were exclusives or what. And yeah, in the next recording we'll have to just play more Magic and try to get more victories a little bit quicker, and try and move forward on getting the quest done. That's going to be it for this recording, though. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening. Okay, for the live audience, I'm going to just stretch out my legs for a second, and I'll be back in just about 2 minutes. Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Magic the Gathering Arena. Let's jump into the game quick so that we can hurry up and get as many victories as possible. The time crunch is real, to say the least. Like, there's just a ridiculous amount of victories that they want you to get on a daily basis. So any kind of quick victories, any kind of just let's play as quickly as possible is something that I would want to see. Now this is just my standard black deck, so I do have kind of a generic understanding of what I'm trying to do here, so I know what cards to keep and what cards to get rid of. And starting with this is good. Meanwhile, we have a decent amount of news, and I don't want to go for a third recording. Unfortunately, I'm pretty much saying that every stream, is that I don't want to go for a third recording. I don't know why notifications didn't go out today. It's like, it honestly feels like you only get 2 notifications per day. You don't even get 3. So if you go live, if I go live before the events of things coming out, that seems like that's a bad scenario. Meanwhile, shifting my schedule to release in the early days hasn't really shown any big changes yet. I don't know if I really was expecting any big changes to be visible as far as the number of views. YouTube is just in such a weird position, and I know they changed their kind of harassment policy stuff, and that's the next big thing that YouTubers are concerned about. They've moved on from the COPA issue. I haven't even looked at the harassment policies. I kind of just don't care. So maybe there will be something there that matters, but I seriously doubt it would affect me, since I don't even really talk about people. Like, unless they just have such a draconian anti-harassment policy that me talking about famous people and video game developers and such. Anita Sarkeesian might be the closest person to do something, and I owe her an apology. In fact, Anita Sarkeesian, this kind of points out a bias to me, certainly, that I clearly seem to have. I completely misunderstood a story. There is a Twitch streamer called Sweet Anita that has Tourette's syndrome and said the N-word. And I thought that was Anita Sarkeesian. And it was just someone being silly calling her Sweet Anita. But no, that is the name that she streams by. So, apologies for making an assumption. I was a little confused there too, and just clearly not paying enough attention, because I don't think Anita Sarkeesian streams anymore, if she ever did. I don't think that Anita Sarkeesian is really doing anything in the world of video games. She's moved on to comic books. So I was just totally wrong there. I was a bad reporter and did not do my research. I can blame it on insomnia, certainly, if I wanted to, but I'll just leave it at I made a mistake and I should have done better. Having 2 5/5 creatures on the field so early in the game is a pain, to say the least. This one can't be blocked, so it's gonna attack next turn and win the game. So I've lost, but at least that was a fast game. Well, actually, no, I've still lost, but he managed to do something interesting there. If he hadn't just, if and only if he had not taken my spinning wheel, I would have been able to play this. Maybe I would have been able to bring that onto the field and kill one of these quicker. That's a quick, sharp difference too that we have between like people that seem like they didn't even know what they were doing in the game awards after party, and people just playing regular Magic. I also want to keep an eye out on this friends list. Does this friends list stay there the whole time? Because it disappeared now. Like, I don't think that there's any like chat or anything, but I'd have to friend somebody to check on that. And I don't even know if this is really showing or not. It would be nice if it actually didn't show. Come to think of it, let's just do a little experiment here. Nah, it shows. Unfortunately, it would be nice if it was its own little pop-up window and it didn't show up. That way, I could use it as a not something I would have to block out if they do put in some kind of chat. But that's asking too much for the moment, I suppose. See, we have a game on Steam here called Komori Fruit Rush, which I think Komori fruit is the fruit from One Piece, but maybe not. Whatever this is, it looks like it's just a low effort, almost like Flappy Birds meets Pac-Man type game. $10.79 discounted, English only, third party EULA. So it seems like the people who were previously hexproof, it seems like the people who were previously not allowed to make bundles and sell a bunch of 69-cent games over and over again have now taken a completely different approach, which is to instead have $10 priced games that would have been 69-cent games. The speed and the coordination in which this change seems to have happened does, in my mind, imply that it is mostly agencies. Maybe it's North Korea, more than likely it's Russian and Chinese trolls, and in part or in whole being funded by their respective governments. But yeah, the bad games do seem to all now be $10. Next game we have on Steam is called Mouse Mayhem Shooting and Racing. Again, $9.99. Says it supports a bunch of languages, and when you look at it, this is just another low effort troll garbage game. Which, honestly, if you were money laundering, I don't know why you would specifically target like, I don't know why you specifically would make 69-cent games instead of making $10 games in the first place. It makes a lot more sense to have always tried to sell your games as this will do 2 damage, which I guess I can do it. I think I'm relatively safe to do that. So yeah, it would have been easier to money launder with games that cost $100 or games that cost $10 anyways. Almost certainly Steam does charge some flat fee per transaction. So the 69-cent games did seem like they were trying to trick some people and create frustration in the marketplace. Frustration in the idea of capitalism in general, more frustration than even capitalism deserves. But yeah, they've given up on that, and now we're seeing a bunch of $10 games. What probably isn't going to be a $10 game, or if it is a $10 game, it'll be worth it, will be Surgeon Simulator 2, announced for PC. Again, though, this is kind of one of those games that is just a streamer game, and I don't think that there's going to be much here. This does not particularly look like this is just a VR simulation of playing surgery, though. So I don't know if this trailer is just a joke trailer or if this is the beginning of something bigger, and they're going to tell a much different experience. Let's see, if I play this, will I have enough to play this? Yes, I think I will. But this guy's just stopped moving and interacting. Next we have a game on Steam here called Zorro, which looks to me like it is just a low effort pixel graphics platforming game. Images aren't even loading. $4.49 discounted, English only. Nothing here of interest. This might be a day, since we were kind of short on games coming out, and the Game Awards are just announcing games that that in particular are going to be coming out later. I wouldn't be surprised if this really is more of a case of the new games coming out on Steam for the rest of the year are going to just be low effort garbage games. On the other hand, we have a game here called Unfamiliar, which looks interesting, where you're playing as like a cat that's, I think, a familiar. It seems to be jumping around a lot. Says it's an RPG. It's $6.79 in English only. So this could be an asset flip thing that is just slightly interesting looking with a different art style, or this could be kind of one of those kids mobile games that's kind of nothing, or this could be well received, and I suspect it won't be, but I'll put it on the follow list. We'll get at least one game on the follow list this week, although that is certainly no way to think about the follow list, is that it has like some kind of quota that needs to be fulfilled. Let's see, we have blue and red spells, and so after this next game, well, actually we should just probably switch over. Let's just switch over to our red deck and see if we can get some victories there. Next we have a game on Steam called Twin Peaks VR, which seems to actually be published by Showtime, which I assume is the owner of Twin Peaks. So I imagine there isn't too much here. It is more of a walking museum of the Twin Peaks series instead of an actual game of Twin Peaks as a TV series. I feel like too many video game developers and too many people in general are obsessed with Twin Peaks and I tried to watch it and I found it just slow and boring. I think it was frankly just something that you had to watch when it was coming out, and you had to be of a certain age to have been willing to watch it when it was coming out. So you have a game here. It's in VR only. It's $9.99, which is a little cheap for VR, but probably the right price for this. Meanwhile, they're saying, why don't you play Boneworks or Control or Moons of Madness instead? English, I'll put it on the follow list, and I'd like to see the reception here. But honestly, this kind of feels like a live-action point-and-click adventure from the 90s that you would have seen, just tie-ins for nothing. There was a Goosebumps. I think it was a Goosebumps series that was a live-action CD-ROM game that came out a long time ago and nobody played or remembers. Feels like that, or Toonstruck is probably a good comparison too. Gamatsu has more details. Your Control's Expedition update is now available for free. The Foundation update launches March 26, 2020. It's a challenging combat mode for players who have cleared the story. Which I thought the game was going to particularly just constantly... I thought the game was going to constantly throw more missions and expeditions at you anyway, so I don't really see much of a difference here between what that is and what other things and what the rest of the game is offering. So yeah, it says Expeditions is a challenging combat experience for players who have completed. Expeditions expands Jessie's story, taking her to new areas of the Threshold, each with their own unique challenges. The Threshold were the separate, like, different reality levels, so that's going to be pretty boring pretty fast. They were pretty boring even in the main game. Let's see, players who complete the main story, My Brother's Keeper and Control, can use the mysterious jukebox locked away in a room in Central Executive to access expeditions. So you just, by obtaining jukebox tokens, players will be able to hear the song that has the power to transport Jessie into different dimensions. Darn it. That's not what I wanted to do, but whatever. I'm just gonna go ahead and play this. And go ahead and just play this. And then attack. That was pointless. I played very poorly there.
Evil outside was never empty.
So it seems like you also have to get jukebox tokens on top of just taking on these expeditions. The jukebox was mentioned in the game before that it would transport her to different places. Now this doesn't look like just the Threshold area, so I don't... Maybe the Threshold was the underground area. Maybe that's more of what they were talking about. What was the other area called? But you can kind of see that there's a obvious lack of effort in this DLC because it is just more simplistic stuff. Let's go ahead and attack here. Well, I guess I'm a little bit happy that I got some more information, but that I'm still in no way really interested in it. I feel like the jukebox in particular was a perfect example of what Control should have been, which is that you spent
Loneliness can hurt.
limited amount of time in the office and a lot of time transporting yourself to different areas. Does this have Death Touch? Let's see. Like you could have gone pretty much anywhere between the hotel and the jukebox, and having something more like what is that game with evil in the name? Not Resident Evil. But it was a Resident Evil from one of the creators of Resident Evil.
Ooh, sorry.
But
They're not.
well, I can't think of the name of the game I'm thinking of, but there was a game I covered on my channel a couple years ago where each chapter kind of took you to a different world and a different reality. It was inside the mind of somebody inside of kind of like a Matrix type mental projections, and
All I've left
you
you
could have
is
some of
pain.
that certainly in Control instead of just the same boring areas. Right. If a red source you control would deal damage to an opponent, or permanent to opponent controls deals that much damage plus 2 instead. Okay. So this is like a great card. When did I get this? Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. Wolf Among Us is free on Epic, and 12 free games are coming out starting next week. So, The Wolf Among Us, The Escapists, questionable what the other 10 games would be, because it is quite a feat for Epic Game Store to even add 10 games in such a short amount of time. I mean, clearly they needed to go big this year if they were going to convince people to switch over from Steam, and they really haven't gone big enough. Frankly, they would have to have gone huge. And inherently, that is the problem with the Epic Store, is that they had a year in which the Epic launcher was not the Epic Store, which they could have been doing deals in the background and trying to sign and launch a new storefront, and it doesn't seem like they really were doing that. It seems like this was a whim in someone's mind, in Tim Sweeney's mind, or perhaps some of Tim Sweeney's friends, like Randy Pitchford's mind, and it was not thought through at all any further than that. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article here. New World trailer, the Game Awards 2019. I don't think we mentioned this game before. No, we did. New World is the Amazon Web Services game that seems like it's a bunch of time has happened between one event and another. Yeah, it seems like it's almost like a Spanish conquistador versus Magic type experience. Well, that is slightly different. I will give them that. Let's see. didn't read all of this, so I don't know what it really is gonna do. Like the temptation here is to cast spells, but you really can't. You've just gotta wait. I don't think I would be immediately interested, to say the least, in playing a Spanish Conquistador MMO game. Though there is something lacking in that sales pitch. I like things that are different, but that it does feel fairly unfamiliar. So it's gonna have to probably work kind of hard to get people interested in it more than most games will. Gamatsu has an article here. Fast and Furious Crossroads announced for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Now, here's another game that I think is going to have to work very hard to get people to want to play it, because A, it's got to be a good racing game, and B, it's got to justify some increase in price or lack in quality for having the Fast and Furious name tied to it. And I wouldn't say that there is a hugely growing collection of people that want to play racing games anyways, and so there's already 2 or 3 different series that are doing racing games, for better or for worse. Finally, so I've waited so long to do this, though, then it becomes a question about have I played taken so long that it won't work, and he'll just send my card back. Yep. Yeah, I think I've probably lost here. Let's see. Surgeon Simulator 2 announced for the Epic Game Store. We already talked about this. It was 7 years between the last game. That's surprising, because it was popular. I would say Surgeon Simulator even a year ago was still popular to stream, which probably means we are past the 10-year point for things like Minecraft. I just need to play the cards, and I'm failing to just play the cards. Let's not try for victories so much and just play the cards on a red deck. Since this is such a slow aggro combo type gameplay, because you kind of need this in your first hand, you kind of need 3 lands. Probably could take out something like this, and that would make it a little bit easier to have a mountain there. Here's the game Convergence. Now that TechRaptor is putting the videos up a little bit bigger, I can actually look at them. Yep, this all looks just to me like it's an animation thing. I believe Convergence is a character that can change times, and so he's gonna change times all over the place. What would be funny is if it turns out that both of these League of Legends single player stories are little more than visual novels, and Convergence is really just a rip-off of like Fate's Stay. I was talking about it like Wednesday. Steins Gate, yeah, that would be funny. But apparently I'm wrong about that, because in this article they're saying it's an action platformer. So, an action platforming game based on a League of Legends character. may not be particularly too interesting. And you probably have noticed that I'm just jumping through basically the same announcements between Tech Raptor, Gamatsu, and Gamasutra, because that is pretty much all the same. All the news is coming from all the same sources, and there's really not a lot to say otherwise. Let's see, Tech Raptor has an article here, all in a day's work with 9 to 5. So 9 to 5, you're playing as like a rabbit or something. They don't have a video here. Tactical shooter. If this was to be 9 o'clock and 5 o'clock positions, that would be, let's see, that'd be a weird split too, if you're just trying to have 3 people pointing in 3 different directions. If one is at 0, and then 1/3 of 12 hours should be 4, and then another third should be 8. So it would have been a stretch to have somebody pointing at 9 o'clock and 5 o'clock. It would leave your 0 person looking wider to the left. Alright. Let's do this. Alright, now what do we want to attack with? Sure. Attack with all of that. I don't have to pay? I don't know why I'm having to pay here. I imagine. Yeah, it's this creature here. It's making me pay. Alright. Well, next turn I just destroy that with this, and then we should be fine. I might be even able to play this. Tech Raptor has another player in Naraka. Blade Point releases sometime in 2020. Do they have any images there? Just a video. Now, in the anime Inuyasha, there's a bad guy called Naraku, which probably Narak in general probably means something in Japanese that would indicate a bad guy. Darn it. Really am just running into the same articles. Like, here's the 9 to 5 video, and it seems like you are just playing as rabbits. Rabbits versus stealth people. Yeah, that does not make any sense at all. Like, I have no idea what kind of joke is going on here, but it seems like it's a big one. Remember, I'm supposed to just be playing cards, so I'm not playing with the with the idea of particularly winning right now. Gamatsu gives us a little bit more details. NetEase Games and 24 Entertainment are working on Naraka Blade Point for PC. And it is interesting to see what is probably a Chinese AA, if not AAA, game being targeted for PC in particular. I would say it's a Chinese because it's coming from NetEase. It is a multiplayer combat game though, so also you're certainly getting that perspective from it, and not getting just a single player experience, which was what I would have said Naraka almost certainly is. And it is going to have to compete with the likes of things like Ghost of Tsushima, which has had a lot of hype for seemingly at least 2 years if it's coming out in summer of 2020. So that hype machine still seems to exist because of E3 and the Game Awards, and perhaps more on the Game Awards side this year than ever before, as E3 has become less and less of an important thing. Right, so what do I want to do? +1/+1 and do 2 damage? Or just... because if we do 2 damage versus 2 damage, I think that's kind of all we can do. Like, until we have a card to play. I could sacrifice this card and draw 2 cards, and that might be a smart move eventually. Yeah, next turn, I guess you sacrifice this and draw 2 cards. Terracrafter has an article here. Path of the Warrior is a VR beat 'em up, which this wasn't, I think, at the Game Awards. Or if it was something different. So here you have kind of like a beat 'em up game turned into a VR version of a beat 'em up game, which this does kind of spin the idea of a boxing game and does something slightly different, and it does probably circle less around walking around or standing in one place and shooting things. So it sounds like an interesting idea. Apparently this was at the Game Awards, by the way. Sacrifice, draw 2 cards. Not sure that this ever is actually worth deal. This, and then deal this. Let's see, we have the wild looking weird west is Wolf Eye Studios debut trailer. This is a terrible title. So this is the one that I didn't realize Devolver Digital was publishing it. I think is probably like a top-down Fallout 1 type game in a clearly demonic / western game. From the creators of Dishonored and Prey, doing something very, very different. Which I don't know if you might make the argument that they were better off focusing on Dishonored and Prey, because those games, while not the best of the games that came out in their respective years, they were relatively well received and relatively well done. On the other hand, I would say Dishonored 1 in particular wanted to tell more of a story than make a game that was like Thief, and Prey 2 also wanted to tell more of a story than be a space first-person Bioshock type game. So perhaps you can definitely see that the creators wanted to focus more on storyline than game development. Alright. I can't tap a target creature right now, unfortunately. Techraptor has an article here. Apex Legends kicks off its Hollow Day Bash, which, okay, whatever. I don't know how many people are playing Apex Legends, and certainly I'm not, so I'm not going to spend any more time on that. Alright. +1 would do more damage. We'll just try this, I suppose. Here's a more stationary image of the Xbox Sex, which is all I will be referring it to as. I guess there is an upright slot here for a disc. One assumes that the top is not popping up. So unless this is something that just looks completely different from the final form, you've basically got 2 CDs worth of content here. I wonder if you could turn it on the side and make this flat, or turn it on its side that direction and make this flat in at the top. You really wouldn't want a disc in loader flat and near the bottom of your table, because that would be bad. That would encourage scratching of the disc. So there's, I suppose, a thought there. Okay, I can't attack though, so I'm just casting spells for no reason. I mean, I could attack, but so it looks like it's one maybe capacitive touch button that's not really a button. It looks like there might be a speaker that fires up here. There's a light you can see through this. This very well might be an Alexa type device. Although Microsoft doesn't really have an Alexa, it would be a Cortana type device, and they probably won't use the Cortana branding. This looks pretty small though. So I wouldn't even be surprised if there's some weird circuitry in here where it's a circuit board on each face of this with a fan going up in the middle. I really would be interested in seeing a teardown here. Arguably a mistake going with an upright CD-ROM, but I think that they barely wanted a CD-ROM anyways. They wanted to be all digital, so the idea of not even really focusing on having that CD-ROM is probably a good move. Let's see. So this guy can attack with 1, and at best I can tap this guy. Very interesting. Very interesting that they announced it. I imagine what this really came from, though, is that they were kind of baiting the Sony to show their new their new console first, and Sony didn't bite. And here I'm gonna lose. Because Sony didn't bite, they just said, well, let's just put out our image. I wouldn't even be surprised if it turns out that the box that they showed off in that artwork is not even what it finally looks like, or if they come out with a new revision very quickly to make it look different. Alright, we made it. We made it to rank 90. We have the new fairy. Now I can go back to playing that. So as far as mastery goes, there's 10 more levels to get the last of the mastery gems. And where are we here? Just finish out this mastery. And that's just going to give us a skin. It doesn't give us any gold. It would be nice if it gave us a gold when we fill the thread out. It'd be nice if it gave us some gems or something. Something to reward you for doing this. Like 3 more left. And we got a Throne of Eldraine pack. But now that we know when the new packs are, coming, it becomes less helpful and nice to...
This drumming. I need them gone.
That's a pretty good card. That's a pretty good card, but yeah. Let's now go back to our beloved black deck. Let's see. And Tech Raptor here has the Magic the Gathering MMO Magic Legends with some more images. And you can see the images a little bit better. See, these are just still images that are being stretched and skewed in the kind of half animation setup. These aren't actual animations, which if you're going to make an MMO, you're going to have to show some actual animations. So, almost certainly what's going to happen is that this is very early in development and just getting announced to again eat the lunch of the World of Warcraft players and Activision Blizzard. You can sign up for the beta now. Would I want to sign up for the beta? That's an interesting question. I don't think the answer is yes. Like, as somebody who said that they're just waiting for the second Dinner Bin Broad Marvel collectible card game to come out, and then they're just going to leap off of this quickly, there's really not any reason why I would get even deeper in the Magic the Gathering. There is certainly a reason why I really never had any interest in getting back into Magic the Gathering after I played it when I was a young kid. And yeah, I'm not super enthralled with the story. It's a fine collectible card game, but that's kind of all I can say about it. Is that it's fine. It's not amazing. It's not something that knocks my socks off or anything like that. There's an extra bit of advantage by having that in the graveyard instead of having it in my hand, because now if it says discard a card, I can't discard this. Well, I can't, for better or worse, discard this card. Let's see. Does this have flying? Nope. Should I play these? I'm gonna play these, but that's probably a mistake. Yeah, I have no interest in playing an MMO. Well, let's just be honest there. No interest. This is a different art style, certainly. The logo change is something I think Magic has wanted to do for a long time, integrating the Planeswalker symbol and having different colors. So that's another thing that they can do digitally, but they can't do with the paper magic experience, and they probably would really love to do with the paper magic experience. I'm just gonna put this on the field and roll my chances. Next turn I would really like to draw Bola Citadel. And I just have the same articles open up over and over again. Like, I'm questioning now if my deduplication function is even enabled, or if it isn't working. Oh, I figured out one of the reasons why my computer kind of locked up is I stupidly didn't even fix it. I'm accidentally putting my computer into recording mode when I'm typing in code. Like I talked about this on Wednesday, but it did not occur to me, hey, if your game is recording, if your computer is recording and it's not recording correctly, that probably does take up some amount of CPU processing power. Yeah, we can just wait. There's just like no reason to even attack. I've won as soon as I have Bola Citadel. I'll won as soon as I have the Vampire Aerialist. Let's see. Techcrafter has this article, Ruined King, a League of Legends story. Ruined King is the other League of Legends story, which I kind of assume is also an action platformer. It would be weird if it wasn't. Let's see. It was the team behind Darksiders Genesis. So it might not be an action platformer, but maybe it is. Maybe it's exactly like Darksiders Genesis. Alright, let's look at this guy. Let's see. Tap target creature. And then attack with that, that, or in that. There you go. Let's see. Techcrafter has the Forest sequel, Sons of the Forest, announced. Tattoo says fight demons and stuff. And that seems to be about all they have to show for that. This is a problem with having a Game Awards ceremony that is also full of just advertisements. You don't really see trailers for new movies coming out, even during the commercials of the Oscars or the Emmys or anything like that. And it does kind of show a slight problem with the way the awards ceremonies for video games, as few as there are also just completely incestuous and cause this issue. There we go. Just attack with everything. Yeah. There you go, just attack with everything and win. Because now that they all have trample, they will beat these guys down quickly. If they defeat even 3 of my guys, it does 3 more damage. Even if they beat this guy, it doesn't win. Techcrafter has Bravely Default 2, which I know Bravely Default 1 was somewhat well received. as a Square Enix JRPG for the Switch. It really is. Bravely Default is really just another Final Fantasy Square Enix style game, though. Let's be honest, from the looks of it. Or perhaps Final Fantasy is the wrong word. Yeah, it almost certainly is. It's another JRPG. And we're getting cards. So now we're just trying to get victories. More victories, more XP, up more levels. And that's pretty much all we have to do. We have a game here called Escape the Lab on Steam. We're back to looking at games that came out on Steam. Which looks like it's pretty much an Escape the Room VR type game that might have some interest. It's early access for $4.24 and English only. 12 achievements. They've priced themselves out of being interesting. $4.24 is half the price a VR game should be. Being in early access is also a problem. So they've just got enough strikes there. Even with only having 2 strikes, there's enough strikes there to tell me that that's not something of my particular interest. Next we have a game on Steam here called Divination, which looks like it's a cyberpunk visual novel, Western style. Perhaps there's a little bit more of a game here than just it's more of a fortune teller experience at $1.75. This almost certainly is an incredibly short game. English full audio, it says. That would help. Let's see. Yeah, it seems like there's something of a game here. Almost kind of like a rock, paper, scissors card game. I'll put this on the follow list. This is an interesting idea, to say the least. Feels a lot like what I thought that game was, that you walked around all of the United States and talked to people at campfires and got different stories. Like, I thought that was going to be a bit more of a game, and by all reviews it really wasn't. Next we have a game here on Steam that's just a bunch of Asian characters, and looks like it is an incredibly low effort, MS Paint, top down twin stick shooter. Early access, English was not supported. It's $14.99. Apparently it's called Tale of Yayaolu, which is Chinese only in English. Looks terrible. Do I want a blocker? Not particularly, not right now. And I am really just running into the exact same articles over and over again. Exact same tabs. But you would think that would speed things up and make it easier, but it really doesn't. It really just gets in the way. This. And this. And sure, why not? And then this. And then go ahead and attack here and get my health back. TechRaptor has an article here. The Joker is coming to Mortal Kombat next month, with Harley Quinn, I think, already in there. So here's what the Joker looks like in the skin. Honestly, it's even Harley Quinn here is in pretty clothed, pretty much a covered up outfit. And they're still mostly doing that with the guys too, except for some of the guys are showing a little bit of chest hair. And here's a little bit of cleavage on the girl. remember that was kind of one of the big factors that occurred. One of the big, not really even that big of a comment of a controversy, but that was around Mortal Kombat 11. On the other hand, though, it was also kind of an uninteresting game, just kind of boring. There you go. You want to block that? Block it. And I don't think Mortal Kombat 11 has done anything to grow its audience from where it was. Good Old Games Winter Sale has free deals and a free game. Apparently, if you do the Steam Connect, you can get Age of Wonders Dusk, Galaxy Trucker, and Through the Ages if you already own them on Steam. So you can get a DRM version of that game for free. But that is a short list. It would be much nicer if it turned out that at some point in the future you could connect your Steam account to Good Old Games and get a ridiculously large amount of things. Okay. But getting 5, 10, 15 games is not a large enough number. I have over 1,000 games on Steam. I would expect to get at least 500 games as free versions. In comparison. Attack, attack, and attack. There we go. And almost certainly they can't do that. I imagine that would just be an impossible move. So attack here and attack here. And go. I see the beginning of the end. TechRaptor has an article here for a game called Humankind Your Story, which is a game that must have been lesser
and no
known.
one is telling me what to do.
Looks to me like it is just a generic Age of Empires real-time strategy
looks like
game.
someone's getting a little sweaty.
The thing specifically, I remember this. It's a character that it's your own, create your own character, and so instead of being something where you're playing as Gandhi, you're creating your own character to tell your own story. But I don't know what more to really say around that. Well, choose attackers. Let's go.
You want to fight? You got it.
think we already talked about this, but Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 gets new
It's not
DLC,
too hot for you.
which, okay, yeah. People seem to still be playing that Marvel game, which is, I think, evidence that the next Marvel game would also catch people's attention. Let's do this. So all I need to do is get 2 cards on the field before I die. Got it. Sacrifice all of these cards and we win. We win, I believe, by 8 or 9 extra points. I love that victory scenario. It's really great. It's totally almost impossible to defeat without having an instant card that would destroy an artifact, which very rarely do people have. Gametsu has an article here. Sakura Wars series shipments top 4 million in Japan. So this is kind of not the greatest of praise for the Sakura Wars series, which is kind of a niche series. 4 million over at minimum 6 different games isn't a lot, but it is a huge amount, I imagine, for a niche series and not a AAA series. It does paint an interesting picture about when does a game series, even if it has been long running, cross over into being a major series. And I kind of think for most people and most game series, it kind of never does. Like, if you don't get a huge amount of push and buzz with your first game in a series, it never really grows to be a major series. If Super Mario Brothers 1 had not been a major success, then they wouldn't have made it to Super Mario 64. And you can't even see that with Nier Automata. Like, Nier Automata way more popular than Nier, but does that mean that the Nier series is going to be a major series? Probably not. Even the Final Fantasy series, I could potentially argue, aren't as popular as they should be. Yeah, let's just say no attacks this turn. Let's wait until we get this on the field, because that can happen pretty easily. Let's see. And just the exact same articles over and over again. Gamatsu has No More Heroes 3, The Return trailer. This is another one that is lesser covered. And this one, I believe, was a particularly weird trailer because you are looking at this like flat animation that looks like it's a Ghibli thing where this guy, who is, I think, supposed to be Travis Touchdown, finds this alien, and it kind of tells an E.T. series where the alien eventually builds a rocket and goes back into space. I mean, this really is just totally a joke experience. And then so the alien comes back and it looks completely different. Let's see if we can. Yeah, here they have a completely different looking characters and monsters. So I don't know if that really is what No More Heroes 3 is all going to be about, or what. Almost certainly that trailer has nothing to do with what actually the game is. And it is still important to remember that, like, No More Heroes 3 is at best a 50-50 shot, because they made that Travis Strikes Again game, and that was pretty garbage and very, very different. So who's to say that No More Heroes 3 is actually going to get funded and actually be developed properly? Could be that No More Heroes 1 and 2 were kind of flukes. The second being a fluke that was just kind of forced because of the success of the first one. And the success of the first one possibly being a fluke because of just timing and it being something different to play on the Wii, which was mostly kids games at the time. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. The Telltale Batman Shadows Edition isn't as sneaky as it wants to be. So combines the 2 seasons of the original game into one bundle and adds a new noir style to the game, is all the Shadows Edition is. Which, if you own some of those games on Steam, I don't know if there's going to be some DLC or way to get that new noir style, or are you just out of luck and do they want you to buy it again? Gamatsu has a non-Game Awards announcement. A game called Heroes Must Die Again is coming to the West for the PS4, Switch, and PC in the spring of 2020. Was originally a 2016 Vita game. Looks like it's probably a JRPG game from the looks of it. Yep. Looks like a JRPG game. Probably maybe an isekai, another world type thing. You have 8 days to live, apparently. 50 different funerals and endings. Interesting. So that's interesting. Alright, I'll put it on the follow list. Particularly if it takes a very relative short amount of time to play 8 days. 8 times 50, 450 runs. 450 runs. If each run only took 1 minute, would be less than it would be less than 10 hours. But if it took 10 minutes to do a run, that would be 100 hours. So if you were going to try and do all of them, which might be a huge if. This is another type of game, though, that would just really resolve around how well received it was. It's from Degasi, which is the developer of RPG Maker, or publisher of RPG Maker, and Death Smiles, and a lot of adult games that apparently I own. At what point did I buy those? Skyborn, I didn't like that game. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm sold on the quality of this publisher's lineup as I'm just scrolling through it. But I'll see if other people like it. And with any luck, we could get 2, maybe even 3 victories. There was something here. This is just the after party. Wanted to double check that. Core set is right now, but Throne of Eldraine is also here. What's funny is they don't have enough room for it. Like, there's only 3 listings ever on the side here. When if they'd stop putting so many ads, they'd have plenty of room for other things. Next, there's a game on Steam here called Planet Modular TD, which is obviously a tower defense game. It doesn't look terrible for a tower defense game, but it is a tower defense game. $8.49 discounted, a bunch of languages supported. We're still seeing a trend of what would have been games that sold for $1, maybe $3, now seem to be very much selling for a lot more. I'll keep this. I'm gonna take it a little bit risky here. Let's see. Next, there's a game on Steam called the Walshingham Files Chapter 2, which looks like an RPG Maker game, but then has a very interesting video, although some of this looks like stock footage. Stock footage that maybe they paid for or maybe they didn't. Honestly, this entire trailer looks like it is just a straight up stock footage experience. Let's see if what the Walshingham Files Chapter 1 was received as. Very positively. As a horror mystery free-to-play game. Well, free-to-play changes your experience certainly on it, and they already have a Chapter 3 for a different story, so they've done this before. They're about mixed though, so yeah, I don't see anything here that interests me. Even if it was a really great story, just an RPG Maker appearance and experience is not what I want. This is slimy from the sounds of it. Check out, there's an article here. Call of Duty Modern Warfare Watch lets you see your deaths and costs $20. So a feature of a death cam that would be available for any other game is being sold as part of a bundle that gives you a death cam. So obviously, clearly a core feature that had been ripped out to be sold later, or was delayed in its development, and instead of doing the right thing and putting it out once it was able to work for free for everybody, they're selling it in a bundle. This is, I don't think, the first time. I don't think this is for the first time that Call of Duty's developers and publishers have done something like that either. Gamatsu didn't even have an article here, but there's a tweet saying a game called Code Shifter for the PS4 by Arc System Works was rated by Peggy. Seems to be a kid programming game, if I was to guess, at the age of 7, Peggy 7, and then by the animation. So it's probably not really any interest to most adult gamers, which I guess is the target audience I've always had. Well, no, it totally has been the target audience I've always had. It's just previously, before all this couple stuff, it would have been nice to have kids watching my videos. I would be happy if anybody watches my videos. Here we have a game on Steam called Dark Invasion VR, which looks like it's a zombie game in VR. It's actually not that bad. It's questionable how you're walking around while shooting all these people. It does kind of look like a Resident Evil game where it's just different types of monster. I'll put it on the follow list, but it would require VR. It's $9.99, which is barely enough to maintain my interest. But yeah, this is either an asset flip game, and I'm missing that description or that the hints that is an asset flip game, or it is of something of real interest. Next, there's a game on Steam called Drain Live, which is a free-to-play RPG, which probably not the best time of year to be releasing a free-to-play RPG. The legendary pack is $34.99 though, and it has in-app purchases. You can see a bunch of items also available. So yeah, not my style of game, and definitely not my style of monetization. Game Sutra has an article here about Mortal Kombat 11 will soon bring cross-console crossplay into the fray, which I believe means this will allow PlayStation 4 and Xbox One players to compete against each other Stadia PC and Switch are not included. This might be one of the few examples so far of Sony in particular, allowing somebody to play with anybody on the Xbox. So that might be a slight change or shift in dynamics, but maybe not as big of a deal as it might sound, because they were being very limited and very stingy with who they were allowing to do crossplay with. Here we have a game on Steam called Field of Snow, which looks like it's just a low effort isometric game. Yeah. Says it's multiplayer. $7.79 single player and multiplayer. Just because this doesn't look like an RPG Maker game doesn't mean it doesn't feel like an RPG Maker game, and that's all I'm getting from this. Bunch of language support, $7.19 discounted. Just, yeah, totally just feels like an RPG Maker game. Alright, we need this here. That way we can get more health. We need to just go ahead and attack here. See, this card just has flying and haste, and this one just has lifelink. So nothing great there. TechRaptor has an article here. Overwatch Winter Wonderland 2019. Barrier meta is broken. I'm not sure how many people are interested in playing Overwatch with the whole Activision Blizzard boycott still being something that should be done. Time to roll the dice here. Black. Next we have a game on Steam called Opencast Mining, which looks just to be a low effort demo of a Minecraft clone mining game. Mining simulator game, I guess is a better descriptor. $4.89, bunch of languages, Russian, German, Chinese, which makes it a little suspect when you see that combination of languages. Alright. We've got this that we need to play, and then this that needs to be played, and then this, and if I play that, I'll die, but I could play this and put that on the top. On top of that, which then lets me play this, and kill that. And I think I've pretty much lost anyways, though. Gamer Sutra has an article here. Get a job. Hades developer Supergiant Games is looking for an engine programmer in San Francisco, California. This will probably be our last game. Let's see. Here's a game tagged with sexual content, so let me just double check and make sure it's somewhat YouTube friendly. It is somewhat YouTube friendly. It seems to be kind of an asset flip MMO game. Eternal Dread 2 here on Steam. Seems to have some scenes where you're tying up the girls, but forms of bondage here. But not any nudity from the looks of it. It seems, at least. $7.99, English only. I'll see where this goes. I would suspect nowhere if I was to guess, but we'll see. I guess the other question to ask is if this game had another one. There's one called Eternal Lore that is a hack and slash game that's rated positively, which looks like it's the exact same game. And then there's Eternal Dread 1, which again tags sexual content. So it seems like they're probably just selling the same content over and over again. And then there's one called Crimson Trigger, which looks like a very different game. So yeah, I'll think about it. I don't know why I'd really cover that game, but I'll think about it. So if I was going to play more today, which I'm almost certainly not going to, it would be minimum 3 more victories, maximum 8 more victories. We have a game here called WASD EAD, which just looks like a combination of low effort troll games from the looks of it, with fidget spinners and doggos and memes all over the place. So this is $4.49, English, Russian, and Ukrainian, which, yeah, Russian troll game, obviously. And it seems kind of obvious, like, half the time they say they support Ukrainian as a language, you pretty much have to attribute that to Russian trolls saying that and it not even being true. Next we have a game here called Create Tech, which looks like just a simplistic pixel graphics game. Looks like it might be one of those games where you merge 2 things together and you get a third thing. The Doodle God style games. Early access, $6.99. Yeah, this looks like a particularly bad version of a Doodle God game, and the Doodle God games aren't particularly good anyways. They're interesting to play like the first time you play it, the first one you play, and that's it. After that they get very boring very fast and very repetitive. Next we have a game on Steam here called Onset, which there was a couple of games where you would run scenarios and I think it was called the In the Movies series, like from 5 to 10 years ago. It was slightly interesting. I imagine this is a similar game to that. Early access for $18.99, but it requires a third-party account labeled none, and then a third-party EULA with English, French, and German. Let's see. Create an open world multiplayer sandbox without predefined goals. That sounds particularly boring. So unlike the In the Movie series where you're given goals and you're actually trying to accomplish things or at least get achievements, seems like it is just a open world boring game. Next we have a game called The Station VR, which I feel like there was another game called The Station that wasn't in VR. This is $9.99, English only. It doesn't look bad on the graphics, at least for the stationary graphics that I'm seeing. Let's see, The Station. Yeah, the game The Station. Here, I'll put this on the following list, and then I will go back and put this on kind of the ignore list. And that should solve that. There's really no reason why I would buy the VR game. Although it does kind of show something, shows a problem when they're selling the same game twice for VR and regular. Most VR games or games that have a VR version come free with the regular version. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. The former Dingen CEO Ben Judd has been dismissed from digital development management and resigns from BitSummit. What's the story here? Judd is accused of sexual and business misconduct. Oh yeah, this was a story where it seemed like the Japanese guy was being particularly bad. Although Ben Judd does not sound like a Japanese name. Breaking NDAs, unprofessional behavior, allegations of sexual misconduct, or allegations of all of those things. So yeah, this is a big story, and him stepping down does kind of sound like an admittance of guilt, although frankly, even if you're innocent and you're going to have to fight this in the courts, how you're going to be able to be the CEO and run your business while these allegations are floating around. Let's see. Next, we have a game called Evolution Battle Simulator. One of the things about that story, though, was that guy and the company he was running really didn't seem like they made any games that were of any importance or relevancy. Yeah, this looks terrible. This is $11.99 English only. Yeah, this looks like more of a joke troll game than anything else. And that sounds like a joke troll name. Now, I'm not going to bother to go through my Twitter feed. If we have games for Monday, that'll be fine over the weekend. And I will just quickly go through the Humble Bundle list. Next, we have a game called Sir Medieval, which looks not like it's animated well enough to interest me. It's $10.79 discounted. Again, very expensive games. Now, games that previously would have felt right at $1.99 at most, now all of a sudden cost $10. Which it seems like it's very strange that just started happening all over the place, very consistently. Next, we have a game called Tower Empire Builder. And I think this probably is more evidence to what Valve has been saying all along, is that it's not individuals, it's not just single game developers that really are flooding Steam with their games. It is organizations, one person that is making thousands of games and putting them on Steam in a year. Tower Empire Builder here is $14.99. Again, too expensive, English only. It's just, yeah, not going to make it to the fall list. Only really 2 games have made it to the fall list. Next, we have the Christmas Spirit Grimm's Tales Collector's Edition from Big Fish Games, and it's $12.59 as normal, so their price is the same. And Big Fish Games is a known, somewhat reputably known website of hidden object games. They're not changing their prices. They don't flood the Steam market too much. They put one game out every couple of weeks, and that doesn't feel like that's too much. Next, we have a game here called Death Gasp VR, which at a certain point I think I might start having to look at every VR game and see if they have a non-VR version, if it's actually that interesting. This is $7.99, which is a little too cheap for a VR game, but it doesn't look that bad. Yeah, there is here just a game called Death Gasp that came out in October, and yeah, even now it only has 3 reviews. And if I was paying more attention, I'd probably see a reason why it wasn't even on my fall list. Next, we have a game here called Photo Quiz Animals, which looks like a extremely low effort mobile port. 74 cents, at least the price is right. English and Spanish. Let's see. Next, we have Lumberjack Simulator, which is, I don't think, from the makers of Truck Simulator or the other simulator games, but it doesn't actually look like a bad simulation game if you wanted to be a lumberjack, and it does seem like you are doing more modern lumberjacking than just what a fictitious lumberjack would be depicted in fiction. Like you're not just a big burly Canadian guy with a double-headed axe. I'll put this on the follow list. It'd be weird, certainly to play. $17.99, English only. It is still kind of a hands-on experience, lumberjacking, as far as I understand it, because often in forests you're not just clear cutting an entire forest. You're cutting the tallest, oldest trees and leaving the newer ones, at least in some thoughts. Next, we have a game called Faux Frenzy. If you're in a tree farm, you could cut all the forest and the trees pretty easily and automated, because they'd be planted in rows. They'd all be about the same thickness and the same height. That would work with the right kind of machinery. I assume such machinery exists. This is $9.74 in English, French, German, and Dutch. Nothing there of any interest to me. We've got just a couple more games, pages. Let's see. Next, there's a game called Deathbound, which looks like it is a pixel graphics top-down sword and slasher game. $4.99 English only. I'll put this on the fall list just because it looks slightly interesting, but I bet if I were to even spend like 5 seconds to look at this, this trailer is just showing blackness. Yeah. I can't imagine wanting to spend $5 on this. This was $2.99 as kind of like a roguelike run game where you're fighting people. Maybe that would interest me. Yeah, but it's just a little too expensive. It's being published by Grey Cube, which I guess I was confusing with the game Grey Goo, because I thought there was a publisher named Grey Cube. Twitch support had some trouble, arguably, here. They put out, we've begun rolling out payments for creators that have an account balance over $100 for November. They put that out 3 hours ago, so nearly half a month later. That's probably not terrible, but it certainly isn't something you would want to highlight to people that, yes, it does take us 2 weeks minimum to find, to decide to pay people. I imagine YouTube's not any better, though. Magic has a Where to Find Theris Beyond Death previews, and they link to a card image gallery, which I did not know existed, and a variant card image gallery. And then there will be live previews on different Twitter feeds and streams and Facebook pages, and things are going to just be happening all the way up to January when, because this basically tells us when it's coming out. Minimum January 10th. Like, if they're still previewing it on January 9th, that tells you what we have until January 10th until this new expansion comes out. So yeah, it seems like their card gallery here is just including this new expansion. And here's some like full frame art for different types of lands, and frankly all the lands should look like that, basic lands at least. Yeah, they're really not showing much there, and that seems like that's probably not all the cards coming out in the next expansion. And then over here we have variants, which there are no variants in the lands, and there's only a few variants. So I don't know, maybe this next expansion is super limited. I guess that might be something that could happen. I don't see a reason why it would be something that could happen. But if there really is only like 20 cards, and if I was to start opening packs on here, and 10 packs in I've collected everything there is to collect, that would be interesting. See, if I was to go over here and go to collection, can we filter out the new expansion yet? No. So that, yeah, once there was like an update, if I could just go not collected and then click the new expansion instead of like Throne of Eldraine, that would be helpful. And this certainly is slightly helpful to see. Yeah, we really aren't missing a ton of Throne of Eldraine cards. If we were to look the other way, though, I imagine what we would find is, let's see, collected Throne of Eldraine cards. Yeah, there's lots of cards that I only have like one of, and probably will only ever have one of. And getting that complete collection, probably not super useful or necessary. 50 packs may be more than enough for the next expansion, though. And it does almost make an argument that that I should maybe even save up some money for the next core expansion and try to open like 100 packs on that expansion. Anyways, moving on. TechRaptor has an article, Moon Hunters is a fantastic action RPG. Oh yeah, we already talked about that. I left that open to see if I could find that on Steam, and certainly I have not gotten anywhere as far as doing any of that cleanup, because I've been too busy pretending to program and screwing around. The Jingle Jam, let's see, is on the Humble Bundle. Scroll down and see if there's, we'll just show it, see if there's any games. Misadventures of Lore Silver Chapter 1, that's something I'd like to open a new tab in, and I can't because of the way that works. Drink More, I remember that game. This is basically just like a combination of games that that live streaming group played in last year. Artemis, God of the Hunt. Yeah, some of these do catch my eye. Spark of Madness from Dead by Daylight. But still kind of a hard bundle to justify, I think, at its price point, because it's $30 and you're just going to get a lot of games you don't want. Rapture Rejects is a great example of that, because that was just a game that did not go well, and thus has no relevancy because it didn't sell well. Yeah. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.